part two, and we're going to focus on romantic relationships. So, kind of starting where part one left off, we're going to have the panel touch on platonic relationships when it comes to your specific significant other or spouse. Like, does that answer change when it's your spouse or significant other that has the platonic male or female relationship? Are you still okay with that?
I'm not.
So, well, Max, tell us how you feel. Coach?
Yes, I was okay with it once I was able to meet the person. I have a good judge of character, and once I talked to him and saw his circumstance and I looked at how long they've known each other, and once I was able to kind of do my kind of eye-to-eye investigation, look at him in his eyes, and so yeah, I was okay with it. I was okay with it.
I would. I'm sorry. If she had like, a guy friend that she grew up with, that's like play cousin or like big bro. So it's not friend. It's like, now it's family. I'm cool with that. But it doesn't look right if I'm making friends that are girls while I'm married. I don't think that's a good look. And same thing for her. I wouldn't want that for her. I think jealousy is a part of love. Even God confessed, I am a jealous God. And I think that, with that, I'll just be honest, I wouldn't want to see her laughing with another dude. I'm supposed to make you laugh. You know what I'm saying? Because then it's like, is he as funny as me? Because if he is, I don't want him talking to you. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I don't. I wouldn't like that unless it was somebody that's.
Kiki what?
I wouldn't like that unless it was somebody she came into the relationship with. I wouldn't want to take that away from her. But if nah.
Yeah, I don't have a significant other, but there has to be something prior to me. That's my rule. I'm like, you can't be making new friends because I'm not going to be making new friends.
No new friends. No new friends. So what about past relationships that are now considered platonic friends?
Nope.
A resounding no from the
I'm interested in
panel.
hearing anybody who has that situation.
From the panel
Absolutely
and the audience
not.
is a resounding no.
Yes.
Once you've kissed, that's it. It's a relationship. Once you've kissed, that's it. Can I agree with that? It ain't got to be sex. It's it. Kiss. Pelvic hugs. That's it.
That didn't even need a conversation. It's just no, period.
No pelvic hugs, no nothing.
I agree. If there are no children involved in that relationship where you have to talk to that person, no.
Okay. Well,
No.
so
Next.
So a few of you are married or have been married. Tell me how your husband or wife won you over. Like, how did quickly, maybe in 1 to 2 minutes, how did they win you over?
Well, have you seen her? She's beautiful.
Oh.
There she is. Look at that
He over here getting all the brownie points.
She's beautiful. My mother met her first in Louisiana. I wasn't there. She called me and said, "I met your wife. She's beautiful." So I stalked her on Instagram, and then I called her. Our first talk was 7 hours over the phone. She's from Texas. So a year and 2 months after that, we got married. So really, it was just, just perfect.
Take notes. Go to Texas.
Yes. By the way, if you are single and want to mingle, talk to my mom. She's a great matchmaker.
Hey, listen.
That's real.
We gonna talk because I got some friends who. So the I don't know if this is like the story of how he won me over. I was at the Alabama A&M University living my life. And we'd known each other this was my junior year. We had known each other because we had met freshman year He ain't have a car. He ain't have no washing machine. I can't do nothing with you. So, cause I wasn't gonna wash in the dorm laundry.
we
room.
need clean clothes.
We needed clean clothes. I couldn't.
Okay.
So we kind of like intermittently like ran into each other on campus. I became really, really good friends with his cousin. He's from St. Louis. I'm from St. Louis. I was gonna go to Alabama and give me one of them big old country boys that drove a pickup truck and played football. I just knew, because in my heart I'm a Southern Belle, so it would have been perfect. I get a dude that went to Gateway. Who does that? But he had gotten my number. We talked. It was cute. But what happened was we were on our way. Keisha, I think you were with us. We were on our way back from St. Louis to Alabama. It was about 5 or 6 of us. My friend's car went out in Tennessee. I can't remember, but it's the city that the Ku Klux Klan was founded in, and I swear they had just had their Founders Day celebration. And me being Miss Mouth, well, I'm gonna go in here and I'm gonna get some help, and I'm walking into the I went into the gas station. The lady wouldn't give me a phone book. That's how old this story is. She wouldn't give me a phone book. We didn't have any cell phone service. I look outside. This man got this deer in the back of his truck and is bleeding out the mouth. It was just too much. So I remember he called me. Now, mind you, we ain't had service, but all of a sudden my phone worked when he called. And he was like, where y'all at? What y'all doing? I'm like, we on our way back. We trapped. And he was like, you want me to come get you?
You got a car now.
He did not have a car. He was gonna get his roommate and his suite mate to drive to Tennessee to come get us.
Wow.
And that said a lot, because Keisha, you can vouch. We had got on the phone with people we had known for years who would not come get us. Luckily, the tow truck was on the way, so I didn't take him up on it. But the fact that he even offered, and mind you, we had probably been talking maybe a month, and he was going to go out of his way to get, not himself and hop in his own car, give gas money to his 2 friends to come pick up me and my friends. That said a lot to me about about a man. So that was a little piece of how he won me over.
All right, brother.
They love him, dog.
I do. I love Darnell.
I got something that remind me why y'all love him.
I love him. He is.
So, what impacts? Because right now, like social media is like a part of everything. Everybody's life is like on social media. This will eventually be on social media. What role do you feel like social media plays in your relationships? Or do you feel like social media has a negative impact on relationships?
I think social media will have whatever impact you allow it to have on your relationship. So in my personal opinion, if you're in a relationship, you need to be the gatekeeper of everything that you have your hands in. So for instance, everybody, well, I'm not saying everybody, but a lot of people know about my business. And it's an absolute nightmare if you don't trust your husband.
I can vouch for that.
It is an absolute nightmare. So I own a women's fitness facility. Only women, no men. So I had to make sure that when I came up with this business model, that I had the trust of my wife. I had no priors to her, and I didn't want to have any priors after her for a lot of reasons. But I felt, and I still feel, a responsibility to make sure that anything negative that may seem like or whatever, I don't entertain a lot of things. Just because even if it is nothing, I don't want it to look like anything.
Right.
Perception is very, very important. And a lot of times where there's smoke, there is no fire, but it looked pretty bad.
Yeah.
But even with Facebook, I think it was just Facebook, when we first met, I was single, she was single. I cleared everybody out. I mean, everybody that was sending me messages through Facebook, we was friends, if you was female, I deleted everybody. Only because I didn't want to have to explain anything to anybody. So in my personal opinion, you are the gatekeeper to your relationship. You have your hands in things. Like she said, if I have to come and tell you how to protect our relationship with this that you got your hands in, either A, we don't need to be together, or B, I need to like reteach you on things you should have known before we even got together.
I think social media is great. I think it's got a negative impact because, you know, people can bully on social media. Well, they bully in schools too. So we shut down schools, you know. So I think social media is great. It's a great way to, you know, another way to express. I don't think it should take away from personal one-on-one time, hanging out, but I think it's a great addition to having face-to-face relationships and interactions and all that stuff. When we and her were first dating, she wanted a post for what was it, the Women Crush Wednesday, or yeah, that's what it is, right? Yeah, WCW. She said, you know, that right now it's what I want. I was like, well, I don't need that, you know, but that's what she wants. So
Put me on the grade.
you know? So every Wednesday at the same time, man, new picture, WCW, love you, love you, love you.
Right.
That wasn't how I received love at that time, but that's what she wanted. And I think because of that, I think social media has ingrained, you know, and I think there's a negative perception of it because, oh, it's just social media, it's just a like, but now it means so much. So I think instead of saying, oh, it shouldn't, I think understanding that it is, we integrate that in our relationships, and then it can grow.
David.
I have a lot I could say about it, but I will say this, starting off. If your relationship cannot make it offline, it will not make it online.
That's good.
Bottom
All right,
line.
it's over.
That's a whole word.
Because I have been married twice. The second one took me through hell. I had to get a whole new face. It's just ridiculous stuff. I mean, said lies to me about me on Facebook, and I didn't respond because you got to starve the devil. You can't feed it. So when I didn't respond, people were like, well, why didn't they respond? This is the power of Facebook, of social media. Why you ain't responding? I had people like, man, we'll put her car on bricks. You just give us the word.
Listen, everybody need a hood friend.
I said,
hood friend in the pocket.
I said, don't touch her. Let her hang herself. So what I'm going to say right now is go shock all of y'all. So I didn't respond. Make a long story short, she ended up coming out and saying, David didn't do that. They ripped her apart on social media, right? So she confessed that I didn't do what she said. 2 months later, phone ringing from work. Who number is this? What? So I finally answered. It's her. Now we got divorce everything. She clowning. She said, nobody's answering the phone. Could you come pick me up? I'm stranded on the highway.
Her car was on bricks.
No, it wasn't on bricks. It wasn't on bricks, but she couldn't get a hold of nobody. So when I was like, are you? I'm laughing like, are you serious? What? God said, if you claim to be mine, then act like it. What?
Wow and wow.
So I said, where you at?
Yep.
Went to go get her. She got, oh, David. Silence. Get in the car, drop you off, deuces. That was my growth spurt.
Yes.
So my thing is that, right. So my thing is that social media is not a bad thing. I agree with it's not a bad thing. It's what people make it. You know what I'm saying? They make it a monster.
Yeah.
It don't have to be a monster. But see, you got to understand, everybody's not going to like your relationship. Misery don't like company. If they see you happy, they want to be happy. They wonder why they ain't happy. Why he got her and I ain't happy like him? That's what everybody. Social media has grown to be that big of a monster, but it's the monster because of what people make it.
Yeah. I feel like with social media, it's almost like you're your own celebrity. If you put it out there, then you give people the ability to scrutinize it and get their opinions on it and say what they want to say. Because I am so guilty of a good old Wednesday around 1:00 when I ain't got no meetings. hopping on Facebook to see whose relationship is in shambles this week. Facebook is my stories. I can't always catch days about Look, I'm just being honest. Young and the Restless, Stefano and them on Days of Our Lives ain't got nothing with some of them folks that I am friends with, and they are consistent.
Hey, look, no. And you better not be friends with the two people into it. You on his page and her page, all the subliminals.
And so on the flip side of that, and I not that I get any enjoyment of y'all. I feel like I'm a good person. But if you put it out there as fodder, that's what it will be used as. So you just have to be very, very careful. And like you said, if your relationship can't make it offline, it's not going to make it online. But social, if you're going to put it out there, you have to prepare yourself for the ramifications of what you gonna get back. Yes, I want to know what happened. Matter of fact, we had a guy who's all of our Facebook friends. He proposed to his girlfriend. Bruh, can y'all do that wedding live? Because I feel like I should be.
We all was here for this thing.
We here.
You're entitled.
We are entitled. Like I will sit on the groom's side. Just put the camera on the groom's side. Do this. I'm a dress up for y'all reception. Like
In my living room.
In my living room, we will have a watch party. That's just how involved we were in their relationship. Then all of a sudden it went silent. But you got mad because somebody jumped in your inbox like, "Hey, where's Bae?"
Right.
That's none of your business, blah, blah. It was our business when you was doing that dollar dance. So all I have to say is just if you can't get mad about what you get back if that's what you put out on social media.
My comment is that everybody is an expert on social media.
Oh, God.
Everybody is an expert on something, and they got something to say about everything on social media.
Yeah,
Listen.
I was going.
There's so many people that, well, I went to school for it. Show me the receipt.
Yep. You went, but did you finish?
Hello. You know,
'Cause
that
I'm like-
first semester ain't nobody doing nothing but gen eds. You ain't doing nothing. So is there a such thing as too much togetherness, like too much closeness in a relationship?
Yes.
Like, okay. Listen, I feel like this is another like yes period.
Yes.
I am
cool.
so
So
glad
glad you said this because I was just talking to my cousin about my parents. And she's like, your brother told me something about, I'm like, their problem is they're together too much. They don't have that distance to get between because my father, he's telephone Tammy. His phone is always on and he's always talking to somebody. And if I call him, he will click me into the conversation and he said, "Daddy, no, I just called to ask you. Can I?" And, right. And when I call my mom, I'm like, "What are you doing?" "Oh, I'm talking to your father, but you're at work. I was just calling to ask you a quick question." "Well, he on my Bluetooth." I'm like, "You at work though?" And then they go home and they're butting heads. And I'm like, y'all need to separate. So when she's like, "Can I go to Walmart with you this morning?" "Yes, you can."
And leave your phone at home.
Yes, and don't answer the phone. And then he did call while we were out. I'm like, "Hi, Daddy." "Get off the phone." Because y'all are together all the live long day. When y'all not together, y'all are together. Separate. There is a such thing. And there is where I work, there's an attorney. His wife comes to work with him 4 days a week. I'm like, that's not cool because they come in the same car. They sit in the same office all day long. Then they go home in that same car and they're at home together. I'm like,
She worked there or she just pop up?
She works there. She sends out his little advertisements. And I'm like, but then I also found out how they got together. And this was it. She broke up at home. I'll tell it. Y'all don't know him. And I'm not gonna tell y'all where I work. And it's not even on Facebook, so don't look. But how they got together, because she sold me this fairy tale, and somebody came back and was like, he was married before her. I'm like, oh.
Saw that with John.
So it's almost like they're together to make sure nobody is doing anything. And I'm like, y'all relationship is my worst nightmare. I don't want to be with you all day long. My work time, let me be at work and I'm gonna come home and love all over you. But
I'll tell you about it later. So kind of touching what AJ was just talking about, insecurities. So if your significant other has certain insecurities, how do you deal with that?
You got to find somebody that's going to tell you what they are first. Most people don't come out and tell you what their insecurities are. I mean, I haven't seen too many just come out and say, "Hey, well, these are my insecurities. Help me with it." I haven't seen that yet.
true.
You kind of gotta ask, "Are you insecure? Insecure? What you mean I'm insecure?"
They did a TV show.
There you fight. There you go. But I mean, if you came out and really ask your spouse, "Is this an insecurity you have?" In most Black households, that might be a fight.
Yeah.
Unless your spouse tells you that. I've never heard of that. I've never heard insecure being a great table topic at home.
All I can say is we got 5 free counseling sessions under EAP. You call and get that authorization and go lay out on somebody's couch because my degree is in business.
I'd probably say I had to face my insecurities once I got married because I was able to navigate through life without them because I didn't have somebody so close to me. So once Erin, she's now in my life, close to me, now I'm being exposed. So now, the whole thing when you're driving and the wife says, make a left, and you're like, I know, I'm making a left right now. And you get frustrated or something like that. But it was that all the time. And my insecurity was I don't want to feel like I don't know what I'm doing. I don't want to look like I don't know what I'm doing. So even stuff like go left, I'm like, I want you to know that I know that. We need to talk about that. So that was it for me. So I would make her miserable so that I can feel better about myself because I want to feel like I know what I'm doing, even though I have no clue. So her message to me was when she literally was like, okay, we need to talk because I'm not living like this no more. And I'm trying to help you. I'm on your team. And if you don't want to be on this team, then we need to figure this thing out. And of course, I'm like, I'm sorry, okay. But that's what it had to be. I had to realize that my insecurities as a man was this world perspective of man goes to work, comes home, puts his feet up, woman cooks, cleans. And so now it's all switched up. Now I cook and now I clean. We don't have men, men do this, women do this. Now we just do everything together. And my insecurities kept it as, well, that's your woman duty. This is my man duty. So now we're at a good spot. But
do you have anything that you won't allow her to do though?
Ooh, who said, girl, can I just
see
Let's
now.
touch and agree that women don't take out trash.
Yeah, see, you don't want to ask me that in public because I got 3 sisters, and I was, Mom, and I was always like, so how come if they do the dishes, why I gotta do the dishes? Because if mowing the lawn is that's a man's job, right? Taking out the trash is a man's job. Then why do I gotta do dishes? Now
So we got a bromance brewing in the background.
I'm cool with dishes now.
Should we separate them?
I'm cool with dishes.
Should we separate them?
Crap, I'm in trouble.
I don't want the mic. I just want them to say it.
When I tell you that grass will be
He
up
said
to
it's
my
more to
shoulder
say. Here it
blades
is.
if
Come
my
on, say
hands
it.
are cut.
I do got some.
David.
I do got something to say about this. My thing about insecurities are some because we got to get to the root of what that is. Mm-hmm. Insecurities is something that you feel that people are gonna judge you that's got you bound. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So my thing is that whenever I was in a relationship with anybody, I've always celebrated them and affirmed them, speak life into them. Because I have a question. Whenever I dated somebody, I always used to say, how strong is your back? Anybody, how strong is your back? Are you for free? No. The reason I asked that is because if the calling on my life is the cross I got to carry is heavy. Okay. So if I can't carry it, can you one day? So my thing is that I can't have a weak woman. That's not in my setup. She got to be strong because every day I'm not going to be able to be strong. But don't ostracize me for not being strong. And a lot of women say, you ain't no man. Y'all understand there's life and death in the power of the tongue, period.
Yeah.
You could tell a man to do something to affirm him, and he can climb a mountain with no equipment. That's how much power y'all have.
Yeah.
But if you say, well, you ain't, then you planting that seed.
No, that was good.
I was gonna say I'm gonna be a little transparent.
Teri.
I'm gonna be a little transparent. One of the, I don't want to know if it was necessarily an insecurity, but one of the weaknesses and areas of opportunity, if I may use my manager voice here. One of my weaknesses was I was guilty of loving my husband the way I wanted to love him, not the way he needed to be loved.
That's a word.
Yes.
And so he couldn't help me get over that. I had to get over that because I had to sit in myself. I had to sit in it and say, okay, he is telling you. No, he wasn't. He wasn't necessarily telling me what he wanted, but he wasn't responding to what I was giving. And so what I had to realize is that if anybody knows the 5 love languages, I am gifts and words of affirmation. Buy me something to tell me I'm cute, we go together.
That's good. That's good.
Wait.
What'd you say? Can we go together?
Yes, no, maybe.
I said my top 2 love languages are gifts and words of affirmation. Buy me something to tell me I'm pretty, we go together.
Okay. I got something to say. I got, hold on.
David.
I got to get this off my chest.
Let it go.
I had a conversation with somebody a few weeks ago about this. Because there's only one love language. Period. There's only one. Period. And my thing is that people have this thing about what they like more in the love language thing. My thing is we all like the same thing. We just like different portions of it. Period.
Right.
So my thing is that you may like this more than I do, but that don't mean that I don't like that at all. You know what I'm saying? So that's my feel about that. And the one thing I've learned in relationships, period, is that people disassociate love with sacrifice. If you don't know what sacrifice is, you will never know what love is.
That's right.
For God so loved the world that he gave. As soon as he recognized what he loved, he gave.
Message.
So my thing is that you struggling with sacrifice, you're struggling with love. Now you'll get love, but you won't have the full functionality of it.
Right. So to make it go with what he said, I was working on sacrifice because I have it backwards. His was words of affirmation. Mine was acts of service. I'm sorry. So buy me something to take me on a date. We go together. So in my head, an act of service is I cook you dinner. I go buy you, these nice shoes I just saw, or I know he loved Butterfingers, so I'm going to buy you a pack of Butterfingers. That was me expressing to him how I loved him. All he wanted me to do was text him and say, I love you. How that work? Wow. You know what I'm saying? So it took me some years to sit in that fact. And I even admitted to him, and we both admitted to each other, I loved you. I tried to show you how to love me because I felt it was like quid pro quo, and I'm not going to get impeached for it. Do for me and I'm going to do for you. But we really, it just wasn't making sense because it's not what he asked for. So that was an insecurity that no matter what happened or what he did or what he said, until I was ready to address it and deal with it, it was not going to work.
Yeah. I want to answer that as well. My entire marriage, I think, was based on insecurity. It was built on that foundation. So that was, we started out in trouble. We started out in trouble because I came to the table with daddy issues. He came to the table with mommy issues. And we could not help each other. We could not. We were not strong enough, even though we prayed together daily. We went to church together regularly. We were good Christians. But because of our brokenness, we couldn't make it work. We absolutely could not make it work. It's not that we didn't try, but I like what you said about he needed those words of affirmation. But me being the strong woman that I am, I don't have time for that. I didn't have time for that. I got to do what I got to do to keep the family together. I got to, we got to, take and make sure the bills is paid, the kids are good and all this. So I was busy being the strong one, and I didn't have time to deal with him and his mommy issues. So we had a lot of issues from day one. And what was really sad about it is that I knew it going in. But I cared about him enough to where I thought that we could make this work. But it was a disaster from day one. Still love him, still a great guy, we're not really friends. I know we had that conversation in part 1, but we're good. We're in a good place now that we are no longer together. Yeah.
Yeah. So, in your relationships, do you kind of keep score? Do you do the tit for tat?
We try not to, but then you find out you get into that argument.
You got petty marriages up in here? I'm going to try to wait them out, see how long this going to last.
Their wives are here.
Right. Y'all wives in the room.
Yeah.
Terry, I feel like you brewing. Terry got something brewing.
I try not to be. Oh, you going?
Go ahead.
I try not to be. I try not to be petty, and as much as I like to think that I don't remember, because I just love you and I'm willing to forget. You remember when you get mad. and it's not even like you're trying. It's just boom. Okay, I remember all this stuff, and now here it comes. But I definitely. At first, in our marriage, first couple of years, it was definitely like tit for tat. You do for me, I do for you. And I always felt like it was 50-50. Like, everything in the house, 50-50. So I have a say on where the picture goes. And I have a say on where the table goes. And I got to say on what car we there's some, you got to pick your battles. And, and we used to, I thought it was always 50-50, but it's sometimes it's, okay, this is your thing. So I'm going to sit back. And you do your thing. This is my thing. So it's not necessarily tit for tat anymore. Now it's like what she excels at, that's what she gets to do. And what I excel at, that's what I get to do. And then when we fight and we argue about something, we try our very best to keep it at this situation.
Right.
Because she doesn't deserve 4.5 years of frustration that I haven't expressed all in one fight. And neither do I. So we keep it situationally, and we're extremely, extremely open about how we feel at any moment, and that helps out a lot.
Terry.
So look.
She is a good person, yeah.
Swear to Bob. So I'm going to talk about this in the flesh, and then I'm going to talk about this in the spirit.
Okay.
In the flesh, y'all. Ooh, y'all. Ooh, I'm not a good person. I have been known to flex my petty muscles.
Just the time.
My petty has a 6-pack because it has been worked that much. That's the flesh. The spirit, exactly. I know better. Mm-hmm. And I know that one thing that I've heard is that being petty or revenge and those type of things is like me taking the poison and waiting on you to die. Mm-hmm. Because I am held accountable for my petty. Mm-hmm. So no matter how good it feels, and it feels good, no matter how good it feels to exact that revenge or that pettiness or whatever character we want to put on it, it's not right, and I ultimately have to answer for it. Sure. And so sometimes when I feel like someone has slighted me and I just want to ease it back on over there to them, I have to remember that you should never tire in doing right.
All right.
Yeah. I just preached to myself on that one. I'm just going to sit back and let that burn. I'm going to let that get in my shana now.
As I speak to y'all, I speak to myself.
Let that sit in my shana now.
As I speak to y'all, I speak to myself. So, there are married people on here, there are single people, and there are divorced people on this panel. Give us some of the benefits and the challenges with each of those statuses, with being married, with being single, and even being divorced.
Well, one thing I revel in being single is when I go home, I have peace in my home. I'm not worried about who's doing what with who and where they at. When I'm home, everything that's in my home is my responsibility, and I know where it's at and where it needs to be, and that's where it's staying. Challenge is number one, always you don't have that second income, so guess what? Everything falls on you. Everything falls on you.
We just put two pennies together. We can make the world go round.
And then there are certain times when I'm like, okay, my trash piles up. I don't take out trash. I do not. My brother lives out here in North County. I live in South City. My brother comes to my house every Wednesday and take my trash out. I refuse to take my trash out. It has to stink.
She got a good brother.
I actually do it. My brother's the bomb.
So I do have a question for you since you said that.
Okay.
And because I own a business where there are several single women, what you said is exactly what a lot of women say. I don't have the man to do. You ever think about how much you could be losing out on having that man to push you forward mentally? Forget about taking the trash off. Forget about the money. Really having that man to really dig into you mentally to push you forward and make you a better person.
And I would
you
like
ever think
that.
about that?
I would like that.
But,
I really do.
but
That was that's just in my household. That's where I draw the line. Is the trash. That's why. Exactly. That's just me because mostly it's my brother, my guy friends, and my dad who crossed my threshold. So any man that goes to my house gotta take out the trash.
Take that out with you when you're on
And
your
the
way
reason
out.
why I say it is because it, just in my personal opinion, a good man should be able to assist you getting past that threshold you had.
Oh, right.
And that's more valuable than taking the trash out, money, anything. Because
I want all of
if
that.
that goes, and at the end of the day, and think about this too. That man may not be the biggest earner you've ever had, but you got to think about the other values he can bring to the table. And I think that where a lot of people, women, period, a lot of black women, once they reach that certain status, they say, well, he needs to be at least where I'm at. Let's flip that table over and say, hey, how many men do you hear say that same verbiage? And I think that we've had so many women get to the point where they've been down and out to where they feel like I've done all this on my own. I'm independent. I'm me. I'm this, I'm that. But then there's no value for that man when you meet him because you say you this, you this, you this, you that. And it's like, well, he's like, well, me, for instance, I haven't had money all the time and I'm still broke, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, we're not hurting, but my wife understood my vision, and now we're doing a lot better than when we first started. But it's like, and this is a question to all women, how quote unquote low are you willing to go based off where that man is?
And I will answer that question for you. No, I'm gonna answer that question for him.
AJ.
Okay.
I do not mind working with a man long as he got something to work with.
All right.
There you go.
Okay.
There you go.
I want to.
Take that question.
No, you good.
I gotta jump on this
Benefits
because
of
everything you said is
relationships.
definitely true, and that's what I have encountered. Because I'm single, and I haven't really dated that much because of that reason. But this is what I've encountered, and I would say 90% of the people you would never believe how many first conversations I've had, and that's it. Because my tolerance level is -0.
Hello
What?
and hello.
How much is it?
What?
Yes.
What? Play with. So my thing is that I ain't got to settle. I'm not in that mindset. I love me enough to know I'm not going to settle, period. What I've encountered, the ones that I did like or gravitate to, they have this thing to where they don't even feel deserving of love.
Yeah.
Wow.
They struck like, why are you interested in me? What? So it's like I can't work with that. I can't force you to feel deserving and force you to love you.
Wow.
You gotta love you from the jump. I'm gonna be access denied every time. So my thing is that you have to deal with you. Women that I've encountered want me to deal with something that they're not even willing to deal with.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Flat out. It is what it is.
So it's kind of interesting listening to you two talk because you asked her how low would she go, and he just said he got standards he not gonna break. So why should she have to go low if he gets to maintain his standards?
Hold on. I gotta come back.
That's a good question.
It's a way.
Let's get it going.
Did you just jump on the table?
We got action.
I was waiting for
That
this.
question wasn't for me. That was for him.
I was waiting.
I'm trying to go home and watch the fight happy, man. I'm good.
I was waiting.
Was anybody else thinking that?
I was waiting. I was waiting. Now I'm gonna go biblical on this one.
All right.
Bible says when a man findeth
I
a
knew he was
wife,
going there.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So my thing is, my wife is gonna be from me for me.
Right.
We ain't gonna have that struggle.
Mhm.
So my thing is, I ain't gotta settle for something that's from me and for me at the same time. Tailor made for David Crouch. So my thing is that it's not so much a point of settling more than it is building. I can't settle for something that I can't build with. Period. Now, in your, I think, because I have a daughter, and I told her this too. I told her this. My thing is, in order to, on your side, even though I can't really speak from your side, but if we're going biblically from your side, your role is to be a person that knows how to read between the fine print and make a decision. Because I can't be with you unless you say yes. Period. If you're not receptive to me and say, okay, you know what, yeah, I want this, it's not gonna happen. Can't force it, can't force your hand. I'm not gonna force your hand. It is what it is. But my thing is that it's not so much settling more than what I can build with.
So really quickly, I'd probably say, when I first met my wife, I was working at Chick-fil-A making $8.45 an hour. I was 21 years old.
But you was doing the Lord's work at Chick-fil-A.
You know it's anointed.
Hey, I got the inside scoop on how to make that Christian chicken. Y'all.
Okay, that's what I need to know. I do too. I need to know.
When you're working in your ministry.
Yeah. So I sold her my plan, and she bought it, and I wasn't lying. And we're living it out. But Chick-fil-A, now she's working at the hospital. She had a good job. I didn't have a car. Like, I was just a kid, in which me being a minister, being called to the ministry, it's a profession where when you have a lot of money, you're questioned. And now where'd you get that money from? So it wasn't necessarily about, hey, I'm going to provide monetarily for you, but I had a plan, I had a vision, and I had the steps. So I told it to her and I sold it to her, like, this is me, and she believed me. That to me is why I have her, because I honestly believe that a man becomes a man when he finds the right woman. Up until then, you're just a kid or a boy. A man without a woman, he's gonna leave hair in the sink. His tub's gonna be nasty. The trash gonna be taken out. He's gonna eat on paper towels and not plates. You know what I'm saying? It's like stuff like that.
Paper towels.
And that goes back to what I said. Have something to work with.
There's a certain thing that a woman brings where a man can't progress. If you look at Adam and Eve, God said, okay, it's not good the man should be alone. Adam didn't say, hey, I want me a girl. God said, it's not good for you to be alone, so let me make it help me for you. So all he did was he did everything that he was supposed to do up until a certain point. Then God said, from this point on, you need a woman in order to carry the rest out. And I think that's, sorry, I don't mean to preach. But.
Sound like we're pushing each other into our greatness.
Right.
Exactly.
Well, to talk about one of the challenges of marriage to me is, I feel like I got another person every 5 years. It's just like, you naturally evolve. And so it's like, and I throw on different hairs, so I kind of evolve too. But like, it's like literally, when you start liking that or when you stop liking that, it's almost like you're learning a new person every few years, because and it's difficult because when you've been like this for the last 5 years, now I got to figure out how to love you and guide you and help you and be your helpmate through this phase. And I'm sure it's just as challenging to him, because I'm sure I do it every 2 years. At least I get 5.
I heard a marriage counselor say once, you don't really marry a person for love. You don't. Because love wanes. It's an emotion. And eventually, you hear people say I fell out of love. That's why I divorced, because I stopped loving them. Well, the issue is not the love, it's the commitment. Right. It's the commitment that you make when you go into that relationship. And like what you were saying, they change. You've changed. You grow, they don't. But if you're committed and you stay with it, then eventually it does get better. That's why you see people going 30, 40, 50 years in a marriage. Wasn't always good. And they'll tell you it wasn't always good. And I wanted to leave that marriage 101 times. But I stayed because I was committed. So that's why you have to be very discerning when you choose a mate. Don't choose a mate because they look good or because they do the things that you like done. That's not the right reason to choose somebody. When that guy said to you, you want me to come and get you? That showed quality. That was a very good quality in that young man. So you have to choose somebody that stands for what you stand for. So when the love wanes, y'all can still stay together.
All right. So, kind of sticking with marriage a little bit. Do you believe that there's a such thing as marriage material? And what does that look like?
How long ago was this?
So marriage material meaning like wife qualities, husband
Yes.
qualities.
Husband qualities, wife qualities.
Well, I do think that a great man or a great woman will always be a great, whatever title you put, wife, entrepreneur, leader. And I think, especially in the church has a hard time separating the man and the minister, or the man from the title or the position.
Right.
Being a wife is a title, it's a position, it comes with responsibility. But the woman that you are, or the man that you are, is either that you're going to have success in that area, or you can have failure. I do think that, I guess to answer your question, yeah. I think there is husband wife material.
I have one thing that I would not agree with him on. I think that I think that a great man or a great woman doesn't necessarily run parallel with being a great husband, great wife.
Okay.
The reason why I say this is because when you commit to being a husband or wife, now you have to share property, share emotions, share everything, share conversations, share vulnerability, share humility, share all of those things. So true enough, to society, we deem one person as being a good man, a good woman, but when it comes time to share those emotions or share that those intimate situations, I've seen very great people who we all agreed to be great people be horrible husbands, horrible wives. That's firsthand. And then they go back out to the world and be this perfect citizen to the world, but not knowing, under that layer, it's just a horrible person in terms of having to share that conversation and share this and share that. So,
Well, he disagreed with me, so I should have a say here.
What is your rebuttal?
I ain't gonna leave it like that, brother. Okay. So we're basically agreeing, because I think that the good person is it's the one nobody sees, which that's the one your wife is gonna see because she's always with you. And I think that that horrible layer that's there, I think you can hide that from other people, but in a marriage, it's gonna come out, absolutely. So I do agree that the core of a person has to be good in order for them to be a good husband or a good wife. There's always gonna be lessons to learn, stuff you gotta find about yourself and all that stuff. But if your core is good, I think you can be a good anything, pastor, leader, entrepreneur, wife, husband, whatever. What do you think about that? I got him, guys.
Challenge.
I give him that one. I give it to him, y'all. Podcast coming soon.
Right. I feel like we got some brewing back here. I feel
Exactly.
like listen, we got some brewing. So when we're talking about romantic relationships, there are hills and valleys. Things are not always good. We've heard multiple times things are not always good. Of course, they're never always bad, but they're not always good. Let's talk about forgiveness. What does forgiveness look like? And once you have forgiven, how do you move forward?
I haven't forgiven yet.
Who wants to say?
All right, I'll open it up. I'll open it up. I think with forgiveness, you cannot be a selfish person and forgive, because for everything I've had to apologize for to my wife, I can explain away in my mind if I wanted to. So I have to remove myself. And my mom taught me this very young. It's all about how the person feels. If you made them feel a certain way, take care of that, or take care of that first.
Right.
And then if you're misunderstood, then you can explain that so they have a better understanding about you. First and foremost, if you're living with somebody, you don't want them to be miserable, because then you become miserable. So putting yourself aside is the hardest thing to do
Yeah.
because naturally you want to defend. That's not what I meant. That's not what I said. I didn't mean it like that. At the end of the day, if they're not saying you're a bad person or attacking your character. And then when I respond defensively, I feel like you're saying I'm a bad person, but that's not what it is. So the forgiveness to me is putting myself aside, saying, look, if this is how you feel, I am so sorry. We talk about all the time that when we're in conflict, we protect each other. So the intimate things we know about each other, I will never bring that up. Well, your dad, your mama, remember when you said the intimate things, we protect each other. So when it's, hey, I'm hurt, it's stop right there. You're hurt? I'm so sorry. What did I do? How can I fix that? And then we can go into the whole understanding of the situation.
Forgiveness in marriage is very, very interesting. Because if someone has done something that you perceive, hurt your feelings, blah, 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 I cannot talk to you for a minute. I cannot see you. I got to look at you. So what forgiveness for me, what I've learned is that I can't forgive you and then beat you over the head with it.
Yes.
I'm not saying I forgot it. I remember what happened. I remember or I may not even remember what happened, but I remember how it made me feel.
Mm-hmm.
But if I've said, and the killing part to me is the forgiveness is not even for you. Most of the time, for them, the forgiveness is for you to keep that from eating you up on the inside. And you look at it and they've moved on. Now you mad. You didn't forgive them. Now you mad because they done moved on with your life. Ain't nobody tell you to stay back here mad. So, but the biggest thing is that I've seen people who say, I forgive you, but then 2 months later, we may be talking or, and you bring it up. Did you really forgive me? You still talking about it. Right. So if you're truly, truly going to forgive, do not beat that person over the head with whatever it is that you've stated that you've forgiven them for.
Okay. Switching a little bit more to a current hot topic. Let's talk about submission.
See? Let's get it. We talk about that. Let's go.
Let's talk
Let's
about
go.
submission.
Let's go.
I failed that test.
That one word makes women crazy.
What are your thoughts on submission? And what does submission look like to you? Let's start with the back. Let's start with the back row.
Well, I think first and foremost, honestly, submission is a two-way street. Honestly, if you have entered yourself into a relationship where being submissive is only one way, it's not conducive at all. I'll be honest with you. The man has to submit and the woman has to submit. Is it 50-50 submission? Never is, never will be. Don't count it. Don't try it. It will never work. I think that, and this is my opinion, I think that the word submission has been given a bad rap. And I do know that growing up in a household full of women and primarily why I've entered to, do this women thing that I'm doing now is because I do understand what a submissive woman giving her power to a man that abuses his power will do to a woman.
Right.
And that, again, my opinion, as a woman, if you submit yourself to a man, and that's saying that he's submitting as well, just understand that you have to know that man will not abuse that power. Right. I can go on for that, but again, the word submission is a two-way street. That's just me.
I want to piggyback on what he said, just to add some on the end of that. Submission was for a man who can lead and know how to follow. You can't lead if you don't know how to follow. So my thing is that's where it comes into play. Because if I can't follow Christ, I'm not at liberty to lead.
All right.
So my thing is I don't expect you to submit. So that's how I feel. That's my take on it.
And so I think, and I kind of like what he said, I think the word submission has gotten such a negative connotation because when we think of submission, we think of slavery, we think of abuse, we think of those type of things. But let's be realistic. You're not good at everything. Somebody got to take the lead. We're not, how I feel about it, I guess my interpretation is it's not saying that you have to be, at your core, 100% of the time, a submissive person. Y'all, I told y'all earlier, finance wasn't my parents' thing. Guess what? It ain't mine. So, but my husband is very, very financial minded. Here you go, bro. Let's go on, handle that. But when it comes to the duties of the home, what should go here? That's my arena. Everybody has their own arena where if you really think about it, there is a level of submission because you've given this person permission to take the lead and handle this situation. So I think it's gotten a bad rap. I don't even think it's gotten a bad rap for married people because the people who out here have a problem with submission ain't got nobody. So what you mad for?
You ain't even supposed to be submitting when to no single person.
So I think that submission is to a street, but it looks different. The Bible says, wives, submit to your husbands, then husbands, love your wives as Christ loves the church. So in the relationship, the man is Christ and the woman is the church. The church didn't die for Christ. Christ died for the church. So we have the greater responsibility of dying for our women. What does that mean? That means that everything that is us, we have to be willing to lose because men can sacrifice their marriage because of their ambition. So as a man, would you give up your business to be home with your kids? As a minister, would you say, no, I'm not going to preach at this conference because it's my daughter's birthday or my anniversary or whatever the case is? And I think that men, which the Bible does say, submit yourselves one to another. That it does say that. So it is a two-way street. But it looks different. It looks different. And for the woman being the church, the church is like a reproductive. It's supposed to keep going, keep building. And that's why the woman is the church. But how it looks, I think a lot of people think that it means that the man is dominant over the woman or has the final say in the relationship because he's the man, or even because, well, he's referred to as Christ, so listen to me because I'm Jesus in this relationship, or whatever the case is. That's not it at all. At the end of the day, if you are dying to your marriage, you're sacrificing your ambition, your plans, everything to make sure that your marriage is intact, then I think that submission may look different, but it goes both ways. Both people are happy and where they need to be.
I just wanted to add real quick, based on something you said. I have been married and I have been single, and singleness is way overrated.
Hello.
Yep.
AJ.
Oh no, you're okay because I was gonna piggyback on the submission thing because everybody remembers a couple, about a month or so ago when Fantasia came out with her husband and the whole submission thing. I agree with her 1,000% because she said something that kind of made sense to me. She was like, "Look, yes, my husband is the head of the household, but guess what? He needs to remember that I'm the neck. I'm the neck. He got to trust me to hold him up, and I got to trust him to guide us where we need to be."
It's a whole
and I'm
word.
like, I love that.
It's a whole word.
So I'm like, I need somebody like that.
That's good. That's good.
But I think the connotation of that though can be seen as the man, like the woman holds up the man even when he makes a mistake. Like the conversation that started from based on what she said was like, if a man cheats on the wife, she's got to forgive him because that's my ride or die or whatever the case is. I'm not saying I believe that, but that's kind of I think for me like the saying behind every man is a good woman. I say beside every man. And I don't like putting positions on relationships because what if she's the neck and then what if I'm the neck this time? And what if she's got to be the one to guide because my pride, I can't hear the voice of God. So because she's humble before God, the Lord's telling her how to deal with the family and not me because I still got issues. So, I mean, I get what she's saying. She's the neck, but it's like when you put you're the head, I'm the neck, period. That's the way it goes. I hold you up, you guide. I think if we're side by side, both of us can guide, both of us can hold each other up depending on the situation.
And I think she was speaking about her relationship. So like you said with, you were saying, it may be vice versa. Y'all know Fantasia. She all Fantasia knows is what she knows. And so I feel like she was speaking about her relationship, and I feel what happened is that people were trying to insert themselves into her relationship like she was saying she was right and they were wrong, and that's not what she was saying. what worked for her is what she said. If it don't work for you, cool.
Yeah.
Right.
Cool.
Okay, so now, and this may be our final question. So talking about changes in relationship, the hills and valleys, how do you respond when your significant other, and we can talk spouse or we can talk, any other type of relationship, when they change in a way that you are not attracted to?
Yeah.
Don't nobody want to touch that one.
I feel like I'll just open it up. I'll open it up. I'm opening it up.
Y'all know it's like that.
I think changes as far as like physically.
It could be anything. It could be physical. I know physical. It could be a big one.
Yeah.
If you were size 6 when I met you, and now we up to 26.
Mhm.
That's a difference. It could
Yeah.
be a size thing. It could be a mentality thing. It could be an education thing. If I went back to school and elevated myself to a certain level, and now you have this inferiority complex thing, it could be anything. Whatever it is
Okay.
that makes you no longer attracted to this person.
Okay.
How are you going to deal with it?
Well, I think if you become unattracted to your spouse, it's because at some point you stopped looking at them. So whatever the world says, this is more beautiful, and they dangle,
Okay.
whether it's an actress or a social media icon, you looked at that and started to agree with it. Instead of looking into your woman's eyes and saying, this is what's beautiful, and not just to me, but this is what's beautiful to the world, And I think that if I was to change, these pants are a little tight. I'm getting a little heavier, or if she changes because she's pregnant, so the hormones and stuff. Pray for us. I'm just playing. I'm just playing. But as we change, watching, so like if like dogs, how they grow. If you see a dog as a puppy, you go away for 2 years, come back, you're like, man, that dog got big. But then as you watch the dog grow, you can't really tell because it's growing in front of you.
Right.
That's the beauty of a marriage. Is like when somebody grows or changes in front of you, it's not like, oh, you just changed. If it's in front of you, like you enjoy and fall in love with the process of that growth or change, whatever it may be. Of course, if it's something bad, then of course.
Right.
But if it's, pursuing education or gaining weight or whatever it is, you seeing that process, you've got to fall in love with that. And if you don't, then I think that it's because you got distracted somewhere and you started believing what the world said was beautiful, what the world says is skinny, what the world said, and at that point, that's lose-lose.
So how do you know that your question is kind of what I was showing him. And the question is, can you grow out of compatibility with your mate? And I say that because yes, the physical feature, yes, that's all, things we can see, and that's what we were all introduced to when we met the person. Growth is everything in a marriage. We all grow at different speeds, but it's almost impossible to think that every marriage stays compatible. So once it's kind of like, if you get on the religious side, we've married, we got to stick it out, we got to try to make it work. But honestly, do you really think that, once you've grown out of compatibility, not physically, I'm saying goals, drive, because some people get complacent. Mm-hmm. I'm good, I'm married, no need to work out no more, that's physical. No need to work no more, no need to strive and get better goals. You find that man, he's pushing you, or that female, she's pushing you like, nah, I'm good. Like me personally, I'm good. But that other person pull you let's go, let's get more, let's do this, let's do more. You might be like, no, I'm good. I don't feel like we compatible no more because you going too hard. I feel like I'm good. This is all I wanted. I wanted this. You can't just grab your spouse and make them into this puppet after a while. So I guess it's kind of like you don't want to be controlling and yank them, by the neck and say, hey, we got to do this and that. But it's like that compatibility can go out the window after 10, 15, 20, 30 years, or even 2 years, especially if you get exposed to other people with different perspectives that wake you up and say, hey, husband, look, wife, look. And they're like, no, I don't want to do none of that, So, I don't know really what to say about that, but, that's kind of what we was talking about. Once you grow out of compatibility, if that happens, you stick it out because you married, is under the rules of the Bible, or is it kind of like you try to help them or walk them through it? What if they just don't want to do it? They're still their own person, so I don't know what to say about that, but that was just like my little input with that. I don't know what to even say about that. Sorry, y'all.
Tish, don't change.
Think about
Okay.
it.
All right.
Bottom line.
I want to interject on that one. Okay. That's why, for me personally, that's why I mentioned earlier about commitment, because during the course of a relationship, things will change. People are going to change. What you like today, you may not like tomorrow. I didn't used to like liver, but now I love liver. So your life changes, and people change and people grow and people don't grow. They stay stifled in a position. And I really feel like when that happens, you have to be committed. You have to be committed, because if your wife is a size 8 now, what happens when she's a size 16? And you saying, baby, I want you to go to the gym and work out. And she's saying, I'm good. I like these full hips. And, I like the way I'm looking now. When she says that, are you committed enough to say, I'm okay with a full figure woman? So you have to make that decision. If you genuinely love her, if you genuinely love him, you're going to be committed to them in spite of the changes. In spite of the changes. Now, if they don't want to be with you, that's a whole nother thing. That's not on you. I think the Bible even lets us know if they want to go, let them go. Now, that's, of course, in the context of spirituality. But if they want to go, you can't stop people from leaving you. However, you cannot say, I'm going to fall out of love with you because you changed, or because you're not growing, or I've got a degree and you don't, or you got a degree and I don't. So then those are all superficial reasons. So if the commitment is not there, if this is not your ride or die, I would hope, now that I'm older, I think I could make better, wiser choices. But that's something that you really have to consider being young and wanting to be married. You have to make sure that this is going to be your ride or die, because he will change, she will change. It's a fact of life.
And what that makes me think of too is, what if I get sick? Or what if he gets sick? And he can't do, they can't do what they used to do. Or maybe, y'all talking about gaining weight. What if I lose weight because I'm on a feeding tube? Or, it's just those type of things where it's like, if you are, why did you fall in love with this person? The commitment. Why did you commit to this person? Is that change that they are going through so big that why is it shaking that commitment that you have? And I guess you kind of got to ask yourself why. And like you said, sometimes it almost feels like when they use that, it's because they changed. No, you just ain't like them no more. Let's just be honest. But instead of you just being honest and saying, you know what, I just don't like you no more. It's nothing you did. It was me. I'm going to point the finger back at you and say, it's because you gained weight. It's because you stopped putting on makeup. It's because you did this. It's because you did that. When in actuality, I just don't want you no more.
Yeah.
Okay. So, just to kind of wrap everything up and touch at what we were just talking about. So basically, with any type of relationship, it seems like we're all kind of saying that you have to be committed to the process. You have to be willing to love somebody past certain points, especially if you are in a marriage. You have to be willing to stand on the commitment even when love is not enough. So I want to say thank you to my panel, my awesome panel. And then kind of real quick to wrap up everything, literally everybody that you see work in this room, everybody on the panel, Marquise, his brother Dre, like all of your Tierra who provided the cupcakes, all of the people in this room, literally I called them and they just said yes. There's no better feeling than knowing that you are supported.